I say it's poultry. I say it's poultry broilers. Again, so number one, 5 to 7 weeks is how long it takes for them to grow. Secondly, there's always demand for chickens in South Africa. Number three, your mistakes lead to immediate results. So to just give you one example, if
today's episode is not just about farming, it's about ownership, land, food security, and building something real from the ground up here in South Africa. Bongz Khumalo, that's his name, right?
100%, brother.
He's in his early 30s.
Yeah.
He's building a poultry farm, employing people, mentoring students, and still balancing a 9 to 5. This is the real story of modern African farming. Bongz, Mr. K, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me,
Thanks
brother.
for being here. You come very far. You come from Hearties.
Yeah.
Just to be here, it's an honor. It's a privilege.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. I knew you through someone that I know. I met you a couple of years ago, and over the years, I got to see you just doing your thing.
Yeah.
Then I came across you doing farming, and I said, I'd love to share that story. So could you please just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point right here?
Sweet. So, the name's Bongz Khumalo. I prefer being called Bongz than naturally, as you know.
Yeah.
Or Bongz Mr. K on the socials. But I'm the super outgoing gent, ambitious, and currently working, balancing a 9 to 5, while also running the family farm. I think that's about it. For adrenaline junkie as well. I guess you can add that.
Yeah. He went to Doha for the F1 at one point.
100%.
But my focus today is on farming, because you often hear about farming and you see it's the different demographic of South Africans.
Yeah.
Far away and stuff. But I want to bring it, to you, because it's so different seeing a young black man owning a farm. How did you guys end up owning a farm or having a farm and owning land?
So
For that
the initial dream actually started when I was in, if I can remember properly, grade 9 or grade 10. I always wanted to be a farmer then at the time.
Like most people want to be footballers or rugby players. How did you want to be a farmer? I think that's so intriguing.
So naturally, of course, I also wanted to be a farmer. I mean, be a sports star, if not football, then athletics, because those are the sports I was really good at the time. But we used to go visit my uncle in Limpopo, specifically in Ngoa, and he has a mango farm that side. So he's like was the only farmer in our family. Since then, I think I was just always intrigued by the fact that this man would wake up so early, come home, he'd be the first one out the house, last one in, and he's got a smile on his face. He stinks, he's sweating like crazy, and he wake up and do it again Monday to Monday, no days off. So that always had my interest, and ultimately I spoke to my parents about it, and we formulated a plan as to how we can get land. And we started the whole process then through the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Reform. And the initial thing was to actually lease land from the state. However, through the negotiation process, we found out that we could actually be able to be in a position to purchase the land. And we rather opted for that position. Then we got the land, and now we're farming, brother.
Do you mind opening up on that part where you spoke with the different departments about getting land? Because often people think it's a lot of work to have a farm, but you've shown us that it's possible. So do you mind just opening up on those negotiations? Where do I go? Where are the offices? How do I get land to start farming? And how big is that land that you guys have?
So first and foremost, you need to know what it is that you want to farm. I think that's arguably the most important thing, because then you can have the right conversations with the department. They really do prefer people who already have a knowledge base, who've either studied for it or actually just have a pure passion and know exactly what they want to do. And in essence, you mustn't be spoon-fed. You must come there asking the right questions and quote unquote demanding what it is that you want from the state. But then going online onto DLR/DD's website, and then just looking out for when they have their forums. So they have these forums where they invite current farmers, prospective farmers, and or previous past farmers to a forum where they discuss and rather present to us that we have an X amount of farms available, and they don't give you any specifications for the farms. And then they would request you to submit your business plan. And the business plans that align closest to the land that they have available, those are the ones that they start having the conversations with. So it's almost like a lucky draw in a sense. Yeah. But when your moment comes, your moment comes. It was many years, for many years. I think I went through 18 of those sessions before the 19th one, when we got the call back and they said, okay, let's have a meeting.
Nice. And obviously on Instagram you told me we didn't get money from anyone. This is just us building this farm. But in order to get the land, you had to convince your parents to do something crazy.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, please.
So yeah,
for funding of the 100%.
Land, yeah. For the funding of the farm, I had to convince my parents to sell their dream house. Effectively, it was the house that they planned on retiring in. My two oldest sisters had already moved out, started their families, and I was the last one at home. I was in varsity at the time when we got the approval. Remember EJ days, and from that point on, I was like, listen, these are the conditions that we can get this land sooner rather than later, and then we can start operating. And the conditions was we're getting the farm food stewards. So everything that's on the farm we'll be able to use, and it doesn't belong to us yet until we've paid off. However, we'll be able to use it, and then there will be no funding. There'll be no funding from the state. We have to put up our own funds. So I'm in varsity, bro. I didn't have that money. But I put together a PowerPoint presentation. And my dad always he bred pigeons, racing pigeons, when he was like my age now, actually, when he was younger. So the opportunity to work with birds again for him, he wasn't gonna let it go at all. It was my mom that needed the convincing, but the presentation actually did enough, and the house was put on the market. Yeah.
So what sort of things did you put on the presentation? How did you manage to convince them to do this, and do they regret it today?
So the things I put in the presentation was just the opportunity, the dream that I've had for many years. I referenced many conversations. I'd even found some texts and
very intentional guy.
Yeah, some texts that I'd sent them previously about, hey, you've got a friend that works here or that works for this company. Don't they get it from a farm or something? Please get more info for me and stuff like that. So they saw that whole preparation that I'd already been doing. The fact that I'd already put together a business plan, I think was how long was that business plan? It was over 100 pages.
Wow, dude.
But that was my full intention, my full idea. And ultimately it was, I am your baby boy. And at the end of the day, you want me to get married. You want me to have kids.
Here we go.
So a bit of a guilt trip.
Yes.
That was the actual thing for my mom. I was like, okay, sweet, let's do this. Let's do this.
So most people don't understand farming like myself. So what exactly is Nkabohle Poultry?
Sweet.
I said it right?
There's many ways to say it. It's so like how I said is Nkabohle. So what it actually means, the word in Sesotho, which means take everything. And that's what we're here for. I want to take everything. But with that being said, we negotiate with our clients when they come and buy our stock, because I'd prefer a client to take everything instead of trying to get a deal on a small amount of chickens. I'd rather give them a bigger deal on taking everything. But the first 3 letters is my second sister's name. The 2 letters after that is the first 2 letters of my name, and then the last 3 letters, first 3 letters of my older sister's name. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the name actually came from my parents. Yeah, the name came from my parents. Yeah.
Nice. And what do you guys farm, and at what scale?
All right. So the farm itself is a 19-hectare farm, or 19.2 if we're getting technical, 19.19. We mainly specialize in broiler poultry. So your chicken that's meat. So we don't do eggs at all. We just focus on the meat products. So all facets of it. And biggest scale that we've ever done, I'd say concurrently at the time was maybe 65,000 birds. 40,000 though was going to one client, and then the rest was split up amongst others. Yeah, and then we also do a bunch of other things. We do vegetables as well, but most of the crops that we grow actually goes back into our chicken, into our feed, because all our chickens are fully organic. Yeah.
And what's the difference between broilers and other poultry farming types?
So you get broilers and you get layers. So broilers is for the meat, and then layers is for your eggs. So just those types, and also just their life cycle. You know, a broiler chicken's life cycle is anywhere between 5 to 7 weeks, versus like a layer. You can have a layer up to about like 3 years, because all they're doing is laying eggs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, are you operating privately or commercial? Like, how does it work? Like, how do you make an income? Like, just talk to me through, you know, all of that.
Sweet. So most of our clients initially were like hawkers and small-time, quote unquote, small-time wholesalers that will buy and take them to other provinces and stuff. And then, you just, you know, through having conversations with people, you get exposed to more opportunities. And as a result, you know, we've had a contract with the Tshwane Metro Police Department before, specifically for their academy. Mm-hmm. And then there's a company called Save More. It's like the ShopRite of the Spar Group. So in my area, those are quite popular. So those are the people that we also supply, and then also just generally any person who reaches out.
And like, who are your main customers, and how do you guys actually sell to them?
So our main customers currently are contracts. So the contracts would be like with your Save More, with the TMPD, as well as like here and there a couple bars and restaurants, or like chisanyamas or car washes and pretty much just to offer them our product up front, give them a sample. After that, then we get into a contract, and this is the dates I need to deliver, this is the weight it needs to be, this is how it needs to be packaged, and then we sign on it, and then of course we add relief clauses for each other, and then we just take it forward and graft.
So what's a day-to-day system like at the farm? Like, how do you guys work? What time do you start? What time do you end? Who does the admin? What's the team like? You go to work 9 to 5 most of the time. So who stays back and does everything? Like, how does it work?
Sweet. So glad you mentioned the 9 to 5, because I was about to ask during the week or on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So during the week,
it's on a 7-day process. How does
it
work? Yeah.
So let me start with Monday to Friday. Mm-hmm. Monday to Friday, I wake up at 4 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. And the first thing is I need to get into the office. I need to see what tasks we need to do for the day, or I need to rather put out the tasks that need to be achieved by the team for the day. And so I mark that out and I assign the tasks to different people on our board. And at that moment, then I'll head inside, shower, get ready to go to work, and then take the drive to Joburg. Mm-hmm. But throughout the day, of course, I'll just be checking in. If there's any issues, they know they can call me, and then we'll take it from there. But my parents pretty much manage the farm in my absence. They follow the instructions that I lay out, and then we've got a wonderful team that works with us as well. We hired from the local community because those were our first customers,
of course,
and also brand ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And every now and then we do get temp workers to come through, and just to help out.
Mm-hmm. And on the weekend when you are there, what do you do on Saturday and Sunday?
So first things first, I like to sleep in on a Saturday.
You need to rest,
Yeah. I don't believe in that thing that I'll rest when I reach my goal, or I'll rest when I'm dead or whatever. No, rest is part of the schedule. It has to be. Mm-hmm. Arguably one of the most important things. So I wake up probably around like 7, 8. It's not much more, it's just 3 hours.
Yeah, sleep in. I'm thinking 11. This guy's 7.
7 or 8, and just to make sure that everything is going okay, go check on the chickens. After checking on the chickens, because now my guys don't work on the weekends, so now the work falls onto me. So on a rolling 4-hour cycle, just need to go make sure the water's fine, the food's fine, check on all the chicks, check on the chickens, all in the different houses, and just inspect and make sure that there's none that are underfed and whatnot, or getting bullied, that there's no cases of cannibalism. There's so many things, and then just going through that, and in between checking that, then it's now going through the crops, checking for any pests, and sorting that out, de-weeding things or fixing something. There's always something to do on a farm every day.
As you said. So let's talk numbers. If someone wants to start a poultry farm today, how much do they realistically need? Don't gatekeep.
I would say you would need, I need to crunch some numbers now, but I'd say you'd need, number one, possibly just enough capital to be able to run a cycle of 1,500 chickens at a 5% mortality. So 5% mortality is like 75 dead. So it's what you'll be able to sell 1,425. 1,425 at 65 Rand a chicken. I mean, yeah, you guys can do the maths. Yeah, my maths isn't that good, but that amount that you'd see there is, I would say, the amount that you need to get started. Of course, then you'd need land, you'd need water, you need electricity. But if you can raise up that revenue that I just mentioned now, then that will cover your running costs.
I don't know how, because the area where you're in is not really Gauteng, it's like more northwest-ish.
Yeah.
So I don't know how tough the problems are there in terms of water and electricity, like here recently. Is it the same there? And if so, how do you guys overcome those challenges?
So for the people that live in the residential properties, like I'm sure you've seen like the apartments and the houses in the area there, they also do experience like water issues and electricity issues and stuff. We find ourselves at this current moment in the fortunate position that with regards to water, we're off grid, and with regards to electricity, we're nearly off grid. When we got the farm, we were not. But yeah, we've drilled a few boreholes on the farm now.
Solar,
and no, we don't have solar actually. We've got a silent backup diesel generator. Quite the unit actually. Quite the unit. Can run the entire farm.
Which obviously costs because of maintenance, diesel purchasing itself.
100%. But when you're buying diesel at that scale, also the diesel generator is quite fuel efficient. If anything, it's more fuel efficient than my baki.
Wow, okay.
And it produces a lot more power than my baki because it runs the whole farm if need be. So that's the cost of diesel gets reduced a lot because you're buying it at quantity. So yeah, bulk buying, yeah.
And what's the biggest cost? Feed, chicks, infrastructure, labor?
Feed is number one. Feed is easily number one. So feed, what I'd also include in feed is the antibiotics that are required, of course, as well as like the stress pack and things like that. So all those are considered feed, and that's about 50% of your revenue. Unfortunately, poultry is it's an economics of scale business. The more numbers you do, that's when it starts to be nice. But if you're doing smaller numbers, yeah, you're not making money.
And talking about money, how long does it take before you start seeing profit based off of those numbers you spoke about previously?
I mean, look, if you do your first cycle at 1,500, you're breaking even. If you're able to, if you don't get squeezed on the price, then you're actually making your first profit, but the profit's not going to be anything to write home about. However, it will then allow you to continue the relationship with the people that you're buying your feed from, where you're buying your antibiotics from, where you're buying your sawdust from, and all that. So naturally, over time, those prices do start to come lower as you keep on buying consistently.
In this industry, are there also rivalries? For example, like in the club scene, you can't open a club here because these guys are there and the mafias and blah, blah, blah. In the farming industry, is it the same thing, especially in that area with that demographic of people?
Yeah.
Is there rivalry? And if so, how do you guys handle it? Or does everybody come together for the good of the industry?
So it's a bit of both. With the first part, to answer the first part, yes, there is. There definitely is. So there's two big, poultry suppliers. They supply nationally. I won't mention their names, but they're in that area. They're in my area there. They're rivals with each other. So they constantly are trying to outbid poultry farmers in my area who serve the other company, or rather supply the other company. And yeah, sometimes there are dirty tactics. Somebody can enter your farm at night and infect your chickens with something and you wouldn't know. If your security is not good, you wouldn't know. And yeah, we did learn that the hard way, but and that just required increasing the security. But yeah, first you need the income.
And what mistakes do beginners make that cost them money? Except this part that you mentioned about security.
I think mistakes that beginners make is, and this is probably myself included to a certain extent, even though I had also studied for it, is thinking that farming is freedom. It really is not freedom. It's responsibility. When it comes to the animals don't care about load shedding. They don't care about weekends. They don't care about your mood. They don't care about motivation. You just have to sort it out. You just have to be responsible and you have to be consistent, and consistently repetitive. Farming rewards repetition. It absolutely destroys egos. It will rip your ego apart.
You mind telling us a point where maybe your ego was high and then farming sort of humbled you?
Pre-COVID. So actually pre-COVID and getting to the point where COVID was, had started in, it was a March 21 or something, 2020. Yeah. The farm was doing amazing at the time, consistently selling out like immediately. So that means, even if we have feed left over, we don't have to dig into that. So in the long term, we're actually making more rolling profits, cash flows increasing. And we're quite diligent in not actually spending the profits. We're keeping them for rainy days. And I'm really glad that we did, because when COVID then hit, we were now stuck with, how much was it? I think it was 4,500 chickens that we couldn't deliver to our clients and that our clients couldn't come and collect. So now we're just stuck feeding these chickens and feeding them. And, once you get past the 7-week phase, it's now straight loss. They're eating way more than they're gaining, and also the meat quality is becoming, the texture is becoming tougher, so it's becoming less desirable, and they're becoming too big for abattoirs. So that's the other thing as well.
Let's talk equipment and operations. So what equipment is essential to run a poultry farm?
First and foremost, you got to have a broiler house. Depending on the scale that you're going at will determine the type of equipment that you have inside. But you got to have a broiler house where on either side, you're able to open it up and close it so that you can get fresh air in or control the temperature and stuff. You need a means of being able to heat up your chickens because they are very sensitive to temperature. So with that, so like infrared lights or having gas heaters or using anthracite coal. But with the anthracite coal, there's big caution around that because you need to properly make sure that the coals have stopped smoking and that you also then cordon off a nice region around it to keep the chickens from getting burnt. But those things actually, they work really well, as well as also having the right biosecurity in place. Like biosecurity is arguably the most important part because these chickens are very sensitive. You must understand they arrive as a day-old chick in like almost like a pizza box, 100 in like a pizza box, and within 28 to 42 days they're ready to go to the market. So that's rapid growth, number one. And number two, just I guess because of that, and they're in such a enclosed environment, they're very susceptible to sicknesses.
Wow. So do you need like a huge land, or can you start on like a small piece of land and then
No, you can definitely start on a small piece of land. I mentioned I was ambitious, so with that, it was just I'm going to that scale, but I knew in the beginning I wouldn't be able to hit the numbers that I want to hit. I just wanted to make sure that we were in the position that when we are ready to scale, we already have everything that we need.
So at what point are you going to get to where you're able to leave your 9 to 5 and focus full time on this? What's going to show you that, okay, I'm ready for this?
I'd say, from like the big 4, big 5 poultry producers in the country and in the continent. Look, we've been in conversations with them. They already told me what their requirements are of me. They find the journey that I've taken so far like actually pretty impressive. However, the main thing is that I'm just not doing their minimum numbers. And look, they're very supportive. In as much as I'm not part of their growing network, I have access to a lot of their contacts, and just simply mentioning their name can make my life a lot easier. So I really do appreciate it. And once I can get that and become a fully fledged contract grower, then cheers to the 9 to 5, man.
And like, how many people does your farm employ? I think you mentioned 21, but how do you train them is what I want to say. Like all those 21 people, do you train them the same way, or do you tailor to each individual? Like, how do you guys do that there?
So at its core, everybody gets the same training with regards to the chickens, with regards to the management of the land, and with regards to working with certain tools. Based on us doing that type of training for every single person, we then see in a practical setting how they work and who works best in certain places. So with that, then we'll rather localize and specialize training for certain employees in that role or in that position or that section of the farm, whereas still having the capabilities to work elsewhere on the farm if need be. Some of my guys get sick or anything like that. Yeah.
And what role does farming play in solving unemployment in South Africa? I mean, we've heard about this on the news, all the bad stuff that has happened, but overall, does it help a lot with the unemployment rate?
I think it does. I think it has the potential to, rather, let me say that, because I think farmers in general need to do more. myself included. Actually, I'd even call myself out. But you do what you can when you can, because it's a very low margin business. So the coins are not always around, but you just do what you can. So with that, being able to help, we have students from TUT.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
that actually come through to our farm for practical experience. We provide them with accommodation, water and lights, as well as Wi-Fi for anywhere between 3, 6, 9 or 12 months. They receive a stipend from the government. So at least that takes a bit of weight off of us. But yeah, like I said, they don't have to cover any cost for accommodation, and water and lights. And then, so that gives them practical working experience when they actually then go out and look for employment. And then with that being said, selling to hawkers and selling to people that own vans and they're buying on the side of the road and things like that. There's like, I'm not like a snob or anything when it comes to like my clients. I'll sell to anybody. If you got the money to pay, I'll sell to you. Like, I've got no issues. If you're coming here to buy a chicken, I'm giving you the same amount of attention as somebody who's buying 10,000. Yeah.
And what's the biggest leadership lesson you've learned in managing people? And this might actually tie into the answer that you mentioned about the employment. It's a quote that I live by, actually, by Max Lucado. And it's, no one person can do everything, but everyone can do something. And that I'm just a small piece in the whole system that makes the farm run. Without me, I wouldn't necessarily say the farm crashes. I think the farm can go on without me, because that's the system that we've built. And, same thing with the next person. However, it does weaken the system and whatnot. So it's that no person's role is more important than the next. Yeah. Let's get a bit real now. So earlier on, you mentioned something happened to you. So I want to unpack it. You experienced theft.
Yeah.
You lost practically half your stock like in an hour or so. What happened?
Yeah. So, we've got our security on the farm. They switch up their hours every single day, and they check every certain amount of hours. They're patrolling the farm, and then they've also got an external team that drives onto the farm at night to be able to just like look around and everything like that and patrol. What happened was, these guys, it was a very, very well planned thing. I think, based off the cameras, what we could see, it was around like 3 a.m. The chickens were about 2 days away from delivery. Was an order of 3,000 chickens, and to make sure it was 3,000, we bought 3,200. So with that, they were about 2-3 days away from being delivered, and they got in through the back gates of the farm. Well, not the back gate, the back side of the farm, and 14-15 guys that we could see on the camera, but they knew exactly what they were doing. And of course, we suspected that it was one of our previous employees who we actually had caught stealing. He's the reason why we landed up putting cameras in the chicken houses. Bro, so they were so well, the formation was incredible. Like I actually admire it in a sense, because everybody knew their role. Once they got into the chicken house, and they didn't enter from the main sides where the lighting was. They went through the side, lifted up the tarpaulin cover, cut through the chicken net, and then cut through the gate, and then went into now they're directly with the chickens. But they didn't start grabbing chickens. 2 of them went immediately into the storeroom. They knew exactly where to find the storeroom. Once they found the storeroom, they grabbed the cages, the chicken cages. So one cage holds about 10 chickens in comfort, but you can squeeze 20 chickens in there if you don't mind a few of them dying, like type thing like that. And they just stuffed the chickens in the cages and then passed them on along a chain one by one, just like that, out the farm, and then pretty much over the mountain. 50 minute job, bro. These guys were very good. So like I said, the 14-15 guys who we could see on camera, we don't know how many guys there were in total. Massive loss for us, specifically net loss.
How did that feel for you in that moment? Like, what did it do to you, to your morale, to your mindset, obviously to your pocket as well, and how did you explain to the clients who ordered the 3,000?
So firstly, to get to the client was still keen to then take the stock that they had. And then I just made him a cut deal on the next batch if he's willing to trust me again, that he can pay less per chicken for his next order. To which we agreed, and we signed a new contract for that. So that worked out cool. So at least I got to retain my clients. The first time when I heard the news, and I'm now experiencing it, and I'm like seeing everything, and I'm just like, nothing was making sense to me. Also because I was very hungover. It was the day after my I think it was my 29th, if not my 30th birthday. Yeah, I was so hungover, bro. I might have still been drunk, but it was a big shock. But I think
you saw it up quick.
Yeah, no, you have no idea. You have no idea. And I was upset for, I remember this clearly actually. I think I was upset for like a solid minute now when it now had like landed to me. Like, bro, this is a real chat. Like this thing has happened. And after the anger, I think I broke one of the doors. I broke one of the doors. And then immediately after that okay, what's the game plan from here? Because this client is not going to be taking these chickens. He has paid for it. And we still have his funds. He's saying he's not going to take the refund, but rather we'll give him more chickens next cycle. Sweet. Now it's time to move these chickens ASAP. And just phoning everybody and just trying to get as much money as possible for that, to just make our loss as short as possible. And then, increase the security. And then after that, just get back into production.
And how do farmers deal with crime in South Africa, according to you? Or how should they deal with crime in South Africa?
Working as a unit. Crime affects all of us. What I really enjoy about the area where I stay in is, as much as, there's rivalries and stuff, with farmers, because there's chicken farmers, there's pig farmers, there's crop farmers, there's cattle farmers, there's goats. There's people that even do snails, some do honey, but they're rivals. But when it comes to actually helping each other, I think that's one of the best things that's actually about my neighborhood, in that so we've got the community policing forum, number one, of course. With that, we don't only use it for security things. We also use it for if anybody ever needs help. Perhaps maybe there's some equipment that you need that another farmer has, more than happy to help. But then it's just like it's almost like a bartering system. It's never here's cash for me to use that equipment. It's here's what I can provide, and then it's like cool, swap.
And what are the biggest risks of farming today?
Biggest risks, I would possibly just say, being alone, number one. Don't do it alone. Do it with a team, and then your team as its entity, don't let that also be alone. Work with other companies as well. Work with other farmers as well. Because together it's much easier to grow together, and just shaking each other's hands along the way. I'd say probably another risk is, like I mentioned earlier, just thinking that it's freedom, that this is really easy. It's not, bro. Yeah. Farming is really tough. Like, you have to be obsessed. You have to be insanely obsessed with farming. Yeah. It's not fun, but it is insanely fulfilling. It's insanely rewarding. So it's just putting in hard work, bro. It's putting in hard work.
And like, do young black farmers have enough access to land and funding, with regards to this farming game?
I'd say
the context of South Africa, what it is with regards to farming and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was so rare to see a young black man like yourself doing that. So do you think there's enough funding and access, for young black people?
100% no, there isn't. Sorry, 100% there isn't. I think the journey for your average prospective black farmer in this country is one that's incredibly hard. Usually if you don't already call it have connections or like know people or something like that, or already just have like a good financial base to start off from, then it's next to impossible. I mean, yes, you can start in the back, to create like a proof of concept or like a proof of capability rather, and take that to somebody who'd invest a small amount, and then you grow from there. But I think we just having access to land is the biggest deterrent. Once you have the land, you can make a plan. You can make a plan. You don't need to get a loan, but you can make a plan. Start small and just grow.
And what what role can they play to actually support young black farmers like yourselves?
There's so many courses and there's so many like learnerships and apprenticeships that are provided by many farmers around the country, which I think is really awesome. And even through government institution, if it's one thing, that's where I can't fault the state, is the programs that are available to actually educate people with regards to farming and different practices. And, even if you just focus on one type of thing like poultry farming and broiler specifically, it doesn't have to be on the entire cycle of it. You can specialize on one aspect of it and have maybe a friend or a family relative focusing on another aspect. But with regards to getting access to land, I think that's just it's a major hurdle. And then after that comes funding. Yeah. Because with funding, you need to have surety. And with surety, like with the, at least from what I've heard from people that have gotten land from the States, it's not theirs. It still belongs to the state. It still belongs to the state. So they effectively are renting the land. And when you're renting the land, you can't get funding. You can get maybe small time funding, but you're not going to be getting big scale funding. Yeah.
So every episode I like to sit with my guests and ask them for like a playbook, like a tactical masterclass on how to do a specific thing. Mm-hmm. So in this case, it's going to be about farming. And I sent you the questions last night. So I want to know, if I have 20,000 Rand today, how can I realistically start in farming?
Before I answer that, do you mean that like you've got a house with a yard or like apartments?
Let's say house with a yard.
House with a yard. Okay, yeah, sweet.
Let's make it like
so.
that,
with 20,000 Rand, number one, you're not starting a farm.
Straight off the bat.
You're starting a proof of capability. So, if we're talking chicken broilers, I'd say with 20,000, you're looking at maybe 50 to 100 birds max. You need to learn feed conversions. So like how often your chicks eat and how much they go through at the different stages. You need to learn hygiene. Hygiene is very critical in that sense. You need to learn processes. You need to learn all of that. And you also need to learn cash flow. Mm-hmm. Cash flow management rather. But the beauty about working with broilers is that, within 5 to 7 weeks, you got to start again. Mm-hmm. And so you learn quick, you fail quick. You need to learn your mistakes very early and rather learn them when the money's small. Don't use that 20K to try and look like a commercial farmer. Rather focus on using that money to learn and make as many mistakes as possible, because in the future, bigger birds means bigger losses if you don't have the basics on lock. Yeah.
So what is the simplest entry point into agriculture?
A few people might actually disagree with me with this one. I say it's poultry. I say it's poultry broilers. Again, so number one, 5 to 7 weeks is how long it takes for them to grow. Secondly, there's always demand for chickens in South Africa. Number three, your mistakes lead to immediate results. So to just give you one example, if you experience load shedding, but you don't have a solution for backup power. So like when we were experiencing load shedding, before we got the generator, so what would happen is in our window, we wouldn't always get load shed. But sometimes we get hit random hours when we shouldn't be getting load shed. But we'd always prepare for getting load shed by starting a fire early, getting the anthracite coal smoke out of the way, and just getting the coals glowing nice and red and whatnot, so that the moment the power goes, we can put the heat back inside. Because if the heat inside the broiler house drops by let's say 4 or 5 degrees over a period of about 30 to 45 minutes, you're going to lose anywhere between 5 to 10% of your stock through pure shock. So mistakes lead to immediate results. You need to check your water quality and things like that. If the water's not of the standard that your chickens require, they either won't eat or they get sick. And again, shock could happen. But that's where the stress pack comes in. It's pretty helpful.
And what are the first 3 things I must do before buying anything, whether it's equipment or medication or whatever?
I'd say the first 2 things. Number one is know who you're selling to. You got to figure out who your target market is. That's arguably the most important. Then number 2 would be have a plan. a basic plan, something that can even be like a one pager. It doesn't need to be as fully detailed as like as a business plan or something, because you're not looking for funding. But what this plan is all about is you need to ask yourself certain questions, and you need to answer these certain questions. So like, how many birds am I going to be doing? What's the cost to rear each bird? What price do I want to sell them at? And there's one more, but I'll come back to it. And then you also need to think of your constraints. So your access to land, like how much land do you have? How much space do you have available? Your water, how much water do you have available? Your energy demands, so electricity, you're able to cover the electricity costs or the energy costs. Do you have the right permissions? The right permissions, do you have the right certification, like a water license? Or have you had an environmental impact assessment done on your land? Things like that. A lot of farmers don't do that and they get away with it, but those are the ones that never get the big contracts. The ones that sell to a lot of hawkers and sell to on the side of the road and stuff like that, they don't necessarily need to comply to that. I mean, for the health of your customers, you 100% need to comply to that. But in terms of the government shutting down your operation, it's not going to get shut down.
And what should we avoid at all costs when entering this industry?
Letting your ego drive the project. Yeah, don't think because because farming humbles you very quickly, bro. One moment you're on top of the world, nothing can stop you. You're making more money than you can spend, and then the next moment you've got no clients. And you're knocking on every door, and everybody knows you. Everybody knows your product. Everybody likes your product. But I guess in my case, because of COVID, I wasn't the only person affected by COVID. My clients were affected by COVID. So now they couldn't buy chickens. Suddenly they're not eating as much meat anymore because their clients aren't eating as much meat anymore. So it's just that trickling effect. But that's just not the only thing. Something even as crime, if your cash flow is not good, crime can absolutely tank your business like overnight. And the main thing is just always knowing that you're not that guy. You're not that guy. You're just a very small piece in the food chain puzzle. Yeah.
And how do I even find customers before I even start? Is that possible?
You don't.
I have to start first and be able to...
Oh, no, I'm saying you don't find customers. You talk to them. You just got to have conversations with people. Start out with perhaps your work colleagues, like myself working 9 to 5. And then local hawkers, spaza shops, car washes, bars, restaurants, even if it's a franchise business, just go have the conversation. My father always taught me that the answer to every question that you don't ask is no. Yeah. So, even save more. They had chickens there, and I told them, what if I could provide you chickens that are bigger than this at the same price that you're currently getting them? And they're like, bring us a sample. That's not asking them the question. That would have never happened. But even before we started out, I was talking to everybody, and one of the bars in my area, they make some of the best food. It's arguably one of the biggest restaurants also in my area. They were interested in the whole conversation that I was having with them, and they asked me, do I have stock? And I'm like, no, I actually don't have stock at the moment. To which then they responded, shucks, because if you had, I'd buy. In that moment, first thing I was thinking was, let me get a contract written up. And I'm like, no, actually, humble yourself. Yeah. Let's exchange contacts, keep the relationship going, update them on your cycle. Every 2 weeks, update them on your cycle just so that they can get their coins ready for you. And then boom, they made the order, delivered, Beautiful. And now, still a client.
What a story. And what is one mindset shift people need to succeed in farming? I'm gonna sound like a broken or a scratch CD now, or broken record right now. Is you just need to be obsessed with it, bro, because the responsibility that it takes on a day when you don't feel like getting out of bed, you need to get out of bed. And I'll tell you what my cheat code is for actually getting out of bed. When I go to bed, I put my phone across my room. And I've got the most annoying alarm in the world. It's not like your standard Apple one. It's like 6 or 7 different tones of church bells.
and it's the loudest thing I could find to play off my iPhone speaker. And yeah, it will be across the room. And once it's across the room, once I hear that sound, I have to get up to at least make like snooze it. But once I take those 5 steps, it's like I'm already up. Let's get to work. Yeah. So number one, getting out of work. I mean, getting out of bed, doing the graft. And then, yeah, just the responsibility, the obsession, and never stopping asking questions is also probably something I'd advise. You don't know everything. No matter how well you're doing, no matter even if everything you're doing is working perfectly, you don't know everything. Yeah.
Oh, dude, like, and I see that, you know, like everything that I'm asking you, like, you know the answer because you didn't get any question from me. So how do you stay on top of the game in terms of your industry and in the industry and field that you're in? Do you have to study? Do you watch the news? Like, how do you always stay on top of the game? Obviously, you have to be obsessed with what you do, but what practical steps do you take to stay on top of the game?
So, of course, yeah, number one, before and during study, because there's always advancements in technology. There's always advancements in certain ways to do things, and even like creating your own feed to create bigger margins and stuff like that. So, this type of information you don't just find out through like a thumb suck or anything like that. So you got to do research. You got to attend exhibitions. You got to attend forums, and also partner up, man. Partner up. So I have, yeah, I'm one of the few farmers, and I say few because a lot of farmers don't like to subscribe to this. So I'm part of the South African Poultry Association, and yeah, you know, the guy that founded the company, Chris Mason, he was the one that actually reached out to me to ask if I actually needed any support and if I'd actually like to join the Poultry Association. Initially, I'll be honest, I wasn't interested in joining, but I really enjoyed the fact that this person who deals with all these big companies and stuff like that actually took a keen interest to reach out to me. So I asked him if we can go out for a coffee. I went out for a coffee and we had an awesome conversation. I left that conversation as a member of the South African Poultry Association.
And what happens in that association? What sort of help or guidance do you guys get?
So Chris and his team, absolutely amazing people. What they do is they send out a monthly, sometimes weekly newsletter of events that will be happening, whether online or in person. And then with all the details, so some are free, some are paid. These aren't things that they run. These are things run by other companies, some international, some local. After that, then they also provide educational programs, and then they also provide external links to external educational programs, as well as like mentorship programs, apprenticeships and all that and whatnot. Then they also help you with the process of like getting funding if you need funding. They effectively hold your hand throughout the whole process and they teach you everything like this. And yeah, no, they're just really, really awesome people.
Beautiful. Let's have a quick rapid fire.
Yeah.
So farming or corporate life?
Farming.
Chickens or cattle?
Chickens. But wait, before we continue the rapid fire, coming back to the question when you asked about like the easiest access to agriculture, I actually need to touch on this. So I chose the broilers for those reasons that I'd mentioned, but the reason why I stuck away from like crops require patience. They require you to understand the seasons. They require you to know how to work the soil. It's not just plant and harvest. You need to know how to till the soil. You need to know how to feed the soil again for your next grow. Whereas like with livestock, your capital's tied up for a while. So if you have access to a lot of capital, then I'd say do maybe a hybrid, because you can put the investment into cattle or into livestock. And yeah, you know, like when it comes to like broilers, you learn everything so quickly. Yeah, but in a suit.
But you see, now you have me on another level, because would you ever get into that stuff later on in
100%. 100%.
Cool. Profit or purpose?
Purpose.
Why?
Because
different in today's time where everything is about the money and the profit. Why do you say purpose?
So naturally,
sorry, rapid fire question, but you got two people who like to chat here. So
so naturally, it's of course you need money. You need money. However, you know, the fulfillment I get from being able to read an email from a student that I would have forgotten about, you know, that I might have lost contact with 2, 3, 4 years ago, updating me on their life and telling me that they got a job very soon after they left my place, and yeah, that they're growing to a credible like level and whatnot, and asking me when am I going to be on the farm. They'd like to come give me a gift, and I'm just like, well, what's the gift? And usually it is monetary, and I just be like, no, I actually paid for it. pay it forward. So that's the purpose, is that I can help somebody and that person can help another person and multiple people. And then, that's how we get it. So,
yeah. Beautiful. And what's one word to describe farming in South Africa today?
I've got more than one word, but let me say interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, let me say let me say interesting, because you get your challenges, but I mean it's really beautiful, like I'll tell you about like one challenge actually, where in the beginning trying to get like a few customers, it was tough. I'm in a very, very Afrikaans area.
Yep.
All the names of everything, the streets, the neighborhoods, everything is in Afrikaans. Like everything's Afrikaans, bro. Like and it's the language that people speak in. But toe ek Afrikaans geleer het, everything changed. Suddenly now, when I could speak to them in their language, the opportunities opened up. So hence me saying interesting, because just that little tiny detail was what was needed. And some people might have an issue with it. I initially did, but I think it was just maybe a respect thing. I never really queried it. I was getting contracts now. So yeah.
I remember there was a story of Nelson Mandela, and I'm just paraphrasing, when he was in jail, he learned Afrikaans to speak to his God, and through speaking to his God, that's where like things got easier for him and stuff, just because he learned Afrikaans. So it's very, very important to assimilate to the area you're in. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for you. So yeah, man. And the last one, man, advice to your 15-year-old self that was dreaming of being where you are today.
Do nothing different. Do nothing different. You had a plan, dude. You had a plan from day one, actually, as to how you're going to get the farm. So it was like a reverse mind map. Started like a little mini business thing in school. I was busy like customizing Supegas and Tommies just to make cash. And then once I made enough cash from that, I bought enough tools, specifically like diamond tip drill bits and stuff, because now I was turning alcohol bottles into hubblies and things like that. And that led to, just led on to the next thing. And then started working in the club and then the events company. Then we met. And all of that was just in the mission of getting to this point.
I know I said last question, but I got one more question.
How
does it feel that you've achieved your dream? Because a lot of people have dreams, and dreams always seem far away. They always seem like this mystical thing. But you're living your dream, bro. How does it feel for real?
I mean, I'm living my dream and my nightmare, and I didn't know the nightmare when it was my dream the whole time. And it's really, really awesome. I think probably the best thing about it is that I haven't made a success yet, in my opinion, but I do think I am to some extent successful with regards to the journey, and that's because up until this point, and similarly to like you mentioning like achieving the goals and stuff earlier when you're having the chats off camera, it's about building that undeniable stack of proof that you are who you think you are, and that to me is actually success. That nobody can actually tell you that you're not that person, but I've done it. And I'm still doing it. So I've also got many more goals and many more dreams to achieve, and looking forward to it.
No, definitely you will do it, and you are successful, And just to close, farming is not just about food; it's about ownership, discipline, and building something that feeds generations. And today we've seen what that really looks like. Thanks to Bongz, Mr. K, for coming on and sharing your story. It's an honor and a privilege. My name is Rudy Samuel. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I am signing all the way out.